She is a political analyst and media commentator, both in the print and electronic media. She currently contributes regular columns to Daily Maverick. She's also director of research at the MISTRA, which is Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Hope I pronounced that correctly. And visiting professor at the Wits School of Governance, University of Wits, of course, Johannesburg, South Africa. She's here to talk to us about the ANC's anniversary statement and possibly is there a new benchmark for South Africa. But before I get into that, she's written 2 major books on the ANC to date, the African National Congress and the Regeneration of Political Power 2011 and Dominance and Decline, and then the ANC in the time of Zuma 2015. So I think I might have a kind of given you the titles back to front, but she'll correct that for us. And I'd just like to stay with the ANC in the time of Zuma 2015. What's changed on the ANC's anniversary statement? How much of Zuma's tenure as president of South Africa has kind of pulled us back, pulled us down, have not allowed us to move forward as we'd like to have? We might have been way ahead. I don't know. Let's hear what the good professor has to say to us. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Lovely to have you here.
Good morning. Good morning, Julie, and your listeners, and thank you for that very generous welcome. Thank you.
Okay, my welcome has been loaded with a few questions as well. So,
yes.
Would you like to respond to that? We'll get to the 108th anniversary and what went down there. Was it same old, same old? Are we hopefully looking truly towards a new dawn as per Cyril Ramaphosa? But having said that, the ANC in the time of Zuma 2015, can we touch on that quickly? And that is one of your books, obviously.
Yes, certainly. And may I take the opportunity to add, in next month, my next book on the ANC will be out. And I hope that book will also answer many of these questions, although I'm going to plunge in right now. And I think the title of that new book is quite definitive. It's called, the main title, Precarious Power, about the ANC in the time of Ramaphosa.
Okay.
And it's really the story, and that is your question as well.
Right.
The story of precarious power.
Okay.
The ANC that stands so strong in the sense that there is no political party, opposition party that challenges it, that is ready to challenge it for power. We saw that in the November to last year local by-elections. No, ANC is so weak that there is no other party that challenges it effectively and sufficiently in order to take over in an election, or even in most cases to push the ANC below an outright 50% majority. That is the weak but strong ANC, and that is such precarious power. And the damage that was done by former President Jacob Zuma in that close to a decade that he steered, quote unquote, South Africa, that damage lingers. It is with us. And it is...
Well, what is frightening is that it's the third year running that and it just keeps getting the Zondo Commission. I mean, 3 years running. What's it costing you and I's taxpayers? What's it costing the country? And I kind of ask the question, those that billions of rands could have been, put to better use, education, hospitals, housing, etc. That's just, a thought in the back of my mind. How do you feel about the commission running on for so long? What do we expect to happen at the end of it? Who is going to be held account? Are we going to reap? Are we going to be able to get back any of the money that was stolen through corrupt practices?
Yes. Yes, and to start with the tail end of your question, yes, the money, I don't think, and by no stretch of the imagination will all of the money be found back. But a few 100 million rand is already coming back. And that is a good sign. But bigger than that, and it is a cost commission. But I actually think the amount of accountability and the sense of the backstops here, people cannot just go and raid the state cookie jar endlessly and think they are going to get away with it, even if many of them will still, and the many will still still pay partially for what they have done and what they have read. This commission has made such a big contribution to showing that there is accountability. And it is long, tedious processes. Oh my gosh, they can be drawn out, and many of their accusees I have learned so well from former President Zuma and understanding what strategy and how to stretch out court proceedings and every right of recourse and appeal to the limits, and even make frivolous, ridiculous complaints about any aspect just to win time. That is with us, and that unfortunately is part of constitutional state and legal procedures and justice and fairness as well. But I really believe the Commission is making a good contribution to showing that there is accountability. And we have already seen that in terms of these very states in a free state, the charges have been laid largely based on evidence that was not revealed so much but confirmed in the Zondo Commission. So there will be long-term legal repercussions and processes playing out. And that is, yes, some see it as a strength, others as a weakness. One of the core characteristics of President Cyril Ramaphosa, that he, also because of the divided nature of the ANC and the fact that the ANC is really a coalition of factions, of very antagonistic factions, he tries to play a distant hand and let legal processes unfold rather than be involved and being be liable to accusations of taking part in doing purges on factions. One wishes often that President Ramaphosa would just be a definitive leader and be strong and say, cut this nonsense, we've had enough, South Africa has suffered enough under corruption and associated practices. That is the reality of the ANC that we have in South Africa at this stage.
Yeah,
is this compromised organization.
But isn't it because, his leadership is being seen as weak, but that's because the supposed internal threats to his authority?
Yes, his authority in there is challenged continuously, and in every NEC meeting, he has to play it safely, and he has to make sure that he lives by that nowadays NEC mantra of unity is paramount. And that is the mandate Ramaphosa won at Nasrec in December 2017, NEC's National Elective Conference there. That the unity mandate, it was such a precarious marginal majority of 179 votes at president of the ANC level there, and he made a pledge to the organization then that he will unite the organization, or at least put together that price is being paid.
Is that possible? Is that possible? Because there are so very many other factions, and you do say that there isn't a strong enough opposition party to the ANC. Let's look at the EFF. Are they just all talk and no action? Are they also just on the bandwagon? That's question number one. Question number two, we touched on the Zondo Commission, and very sadly, in this very critical time in the world, when we're all suffering from COVID-19, the entire world is in the grip of COVID-19. On the back of this, what is so sickening is that in our country, we've had issues around corruption once again with PPE equipment, medications, etc., etc., etc.
This in the EFF, they are, in many respects, a lot of talk, but they're also, on important occasions, are they more than talk, because they have got so much respect from the youth in South Africa, from young people who are disgruntled and dissatisfied with the state of mainstream politics. And the EFF wins a lot of credibility. And they are likely to call a spade, even if there are many wrongs in their own midst as well. But because they speak through many truths to power that other parties speak in a modest marginal way, the EFF comes out very often much more stridently. And that appeals to many voters.
Very especially the young people, as you say.
Exactly. It carries a lot of legitimacy in that group. We did see in last year's important November by-elections, EFF, even in KwaZulu-Natal, we had made great strides in the 2019 national and provincial elections in that province. Those strides were not carried forward in the local government by-elections last year, although by-elections, of course, are not always definitive, but very important. And so they will really have to carry forward a lot of momentum in order to keep on growing. And at this stage, we're not sure whether it is there, because very often young people also simply choose not to become involved in electoral politics, not to go and vote. And yes, COVID-19.
All right.
You asked about.
Yes, respond to that, and then I want to ask you a question on the DA as well.
Absolutely. Just on the corruption on the back of COVID-19, personal protective equipment, etc. I think you used the word sickening, and there is no other word to describe it. And the ANC lost so much. Ramaphosa and his New Dawn, so-called New Dawn in many respects, lost so much credibility through that barrage of evidence of the Ramaphosa supposedly clean faction really dipping into the trough very handsomely. That did an incredible amount of damage to Ramaphosa. And subsequently, we know with the ANC Integrity Commission, there's so much talk of giving it more teeth, giving it power, strengthening it administratively, giving it more members, and yet it remains a body that is subject to the MEC or the ANC. And as long as the Integrity Commission of the ANC does not have some form of autonomy, it will not make a dent in restoring the image of the ANC.
So there was this anniversary, the 108th anniversary of the ANC. We're also in a local election year. What were your expectations met by what Ramaphosa and the ANC had to say at the anniversary? Or is it same old, just the same old rhetorical, spillage that we've been hearing for the past so many years?
It was, as always in these statements, almost inevitably disappointing, because there's so much to cover and so much one needs to hear and so little that is being said. It is, in the first place, of course, an ANC organizational occasion. But I would have expected from there much more definitive statements in line with the sentiment, with our zeitgeist, with the sentiment of the era in which we live, of stop corruption definitively, no inch of it going forward. I would have expected, I would have loved to see much more of that, of a definitive declaration that a page has been turned and COVID times have helped the ANC realize that irrespective, if they split the party must split, but it must be a reinvigorated, cleaned up party. That would have been the ultimate statement, but of course that would have stirred politics up immensely. And that if the ANC cleans up in that definitive way that we dream about, but it's probably a mirage. If it does that, if there is little doubt in my mind that the ANC would split like they did with COPE, like they did in a way with the EFF. And if that happens, given the ANC's current electoral statuses of declining majorities, then the chances are very good that the ANC would come out below 50%. And we know the pandemonium that's been
Yeah.
created in several other big metros in South Africa that came to rely on very unstable coalition politics.
The DA, what are they looking like? And I mean, I always thought that they would be the strong opposition party, but they have lots of problems of their own. There's a lot of infighting there. There seems to be, there seems to be a lot of issues around race relations, apartheid going on within, and I'm just putting it very bluntly, going on within that party. What on earth is going on? And despite the fact that they keep denying that they're not sidelining colored and black leaders within the party, I think the actions of those people stepping down kind of all, speaks louder than, really speaks for itself, so to speak.
Yes, the ANC isn't.
No, the DA. The DA.
Yes. Look for the tongue there. I'm thinking DA.
Yeah.
DA is in a very, very tight, difficult position. It has to make sure that it is the serious opposition party, but it just does not make that grade. And it suffered great setbacks when people like Herman Mashaba, Mmusi Maimane, Moody were pushed out for whatever reasons from the DA. The DA at one stage grew very fast.
What do you think?
It accumulated.
Professor, what do you think? What do you think were the reasons for them being pushed out? And I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to form, in the process of forming a party, their party. I'm not too sure that I'm very happy with what Mmusi Maimane has been saying about his party. What good for South Africa, whatever it's called. It sounds very wishy-washy. But let's understand those politics there. What exactly happened?
Well, we know Mmusi Maimane was fingered in an internal DA elections report as not having given sufficient level of leadership, national leadership, taking the ANC, taking the DA into the 2019 elections. So Mmusi Maimane was very much blamed for the DA's suboptimal performance in that election. Although the DA, it did grow, it declined slightly, although it declined to by a lesser percentage margin than the ANC had declined in its performance. So given the circumstances and given that Ramaphosa had come in as a new ANC leader and had stolen much of the DA thunder, the DA did not do entirely badly. But the point is it had shrunk, whereas its own strategists expected it to grow. And Mmusi Maimane and his leadership were blamed for that aspect of the DA performance. Subsequently, we know Herman Mashaba is a difficult person, I guess, for any political party to work with. And he did think he was a bit bigger than the DA and that he can dictate more to the DA, which has conservative and white dominated, even if people of color had become much more prevalent in the DA. There's still some color image, domination of certain white color image in that party, and that definitely doesn't make for growth. And then, of course, there was the return of Helen Miller, which was a serious figure to misfortune in the DA. But she had played a big role in her time. And she had helped grow the DA. She had helped the DA merge with smaller opposition parties. But the time had come and the time had gone. And bringing her back into the top structures of the DA last year definitely was the wrong strategic step. She came with many other madam connotations. She came with pro-colonial, even if some of those remarks, interpretations of the remarks are very unfortunate. That stuck to her. And she came with that image, and that image just wasn't in line with the emotional political intelligence of the time. And the DAs really suffered for that.
Let's look at the other smaller parties. Do you think that there is a role for them to play? What should that role be? Are they really very insignificant? What is the true state of affairs with the smaller parties? Your Christian and whatever else,
Yes,
there's a whole lot of offshoots there.
yes, it is. Yes, yes. Also ranging to Al Jamaa, which was a very small national party, but recently in November they took a seat in the Joburg by-elections from the DA. Small political parties. I am a big fan of the small political parties.
Do they in fact serve the people? Do they serve the people? That's the big question, I suppose.
Yeah, politically they are not going to get anywhere, but they have a voice in parliamentary debates. In national broadcasts for those debates, they do come out with specific community kind of voice, and they really pay respect, I believe, to the multiculturalism in South Africa, to this, I know it's a bit corny, but the rainbow nation character of South African politics. All these little political parties add so much flavor and nuance to national politics, even if they're just an occasional voice. But of course, given that they are so small, they have very limited resources, monetary and organizationally. And it's very difficult for them to keep abreast of all debates and make the necessary inputs. But still, I think they have a place, and that's where I think South Africa's proportional representation system, I know it plays a big role in and there's no cutoff point. If they get 0.25% of the national vote, they can get one MP in parliament. Right. And it adds a lot of nuance and texture to South Africa's democracy. And of course, but it is also liable to some exploitation. We've seen that especially in coalition politics in the metros, where small parties, little parties and some are very opportunistic structures.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it should really not exist. Think of the Patriotic Alliance, etc., for Gaten McKenzie and Company, and Marlon Daniel, and they can negotiate on the basis of having one councillor in a metro. They can negotiate for a metropolitan mayor position or deputy mayoral position. And so these small parties, it's quite a growth industry. We saw it in 2019 elections nationally and provincially as well. Big growth industry that they start a party not with the idea of serving a community, but with gaining a small king-making or queen-making position and swinging the balance of power in local government. And when they do that, when we get that type of party, I'm totally opposed to it. But overall, I do think they add a lot of texture to our democracy.
Okay. Are we heading towards a truly new dawn? Or are we still going to be getting a lot of the same old, same old?
Oh, I think the new dawn has long been aborted, that project.
Okay.
Yes, sadly, when the truth came to dawn, and that was that Cyril Ramaphosa is really heading a compromise party, and his election with his ascendants was not the final answer, was not going to subdue and subvert the opposing, more corrupt, more reactionary factions of the ANC. That is when this new dawn also really became this unmasked as not really a new or anything. And that the only new was that there is a cleaner, and it vacillates. It's not always the same, as we saw in the COVID era of corruption and looting. It goes across the factions.
Okay,
and that was another point.
Just before I let you go, we've got a caller to comment. Let's hope it's going to be very quick because we've got our next interview lined up. Caller, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Julie. How are you?
Oh, with your du'as, alhamdulillah. You have a comment?
Gee, and salams to your guest there,
Professor Susan Booysen.
Gee, you touched on Al Jamaa Party and of all the various parties that we have.
Yeah.
I don't know if people throw their net wide enough, because if I look at the old UDF that we used to have and the clout we used to have, we got ANC unbanned. We had a campaign to get Madiba off the island. We succeeded with that. And we still stayed in our trench of, Islamic objectives and so on. So I don't know if they're throwing their net wide enough, because the ground is open. We know what the ANC's track record has been so far, and all the corruption and whatever complaints there is. But the strange thing is now that the employers are coming for votes to the employees, let's say the employees is coming to the employers. And the voters don't realize they are the employers.
Absolutely.
This is the thing. They never realize that. I don't know what's wrong with the voters in this country. Now it's time to take your choice and say, look here, we didn't have a good show from you guys. I never thought of us in this and that regard. Maybe we should make another choice.
Absolutely. We're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. Yes. Thank you for your call. And Professor Booysen, Walaikum Salam. Professor Booysen, your book, you've got your third book that is going to be launched soon. I do hope you're going to shout out to us so that we can have you back on air to talk about the third book and just to see how South African politics are moving forward. Thank you indeed.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that invitation. We can certainly arrange that.
Absolutely.
That will be a privilege.
Lovely talking to you. Go well, and thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
As winter grips the Northern Hemisphere, refugees, IDPs, and other vulnerable communities are doing all they can to survive. Winter is already the hardest time of year, and in the current global context, this year could be even worse. With your help, the Al Imdad Foundation is delivering life-saving winter warmth items in 12 countries globally, including Syria, Palestine, Yemen, Kashmir, and Pakistan. So be warm-hearted and sponsor a winter pack at just 600 Rand. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Kiki's, the taste with a kick. Our revamped exclusive restaurant and takeaway now opened. Kiki's strives to serve you and your family with a wide variety of delicious meals. Enjoy our famous chicken,